Hi folks, welcome to this week's Tiger Bite, the midweek review and preview show of all things Glasgow Speedway. I'm Derek Smith, and joined as ever to help navigate through Tiger's fortunes in the past and coming week by the thinking man's proclaimer, Brian Copeland. Good evening to you, Brian.
Evening, Derek. That's nicer than I've been called in the past, so I'll take that.
As long as you're happy. If you're happy, I'm happy, Brian. Yep. I can. There's a bit of a theme developing, isn't there, around the proclaimers? Brian, tonight's show, of course, is going to be far more preview than review, given that Saturday night's visit by Peterborough, a Chris Harris-led Peterborough, was washed out in a thunderstorm at Ashfield. But of course, last Thursday, the Tigers did make a trip down to Sheffield in a championship clash, which was billed as our toughest test yet. And given the final score, I think it's fair to say the Glasgow Tigers came through fairly successfully.
Yeah, to go there and finish within 2 points of Sheffield, given the fact that it was billed at such a tough test beforehand, is the guys deserve real credit for coming away with that scoreline. It could have been even better. I think I think we had a couple of bits of bad luck. I know Richie Worrell had a couple of troubles getting off the start line in one or two of the races, and if he'd had the kind of night that he's been having recently, we could have actually gone and won there. So it just shows the kind of form that we're in at the moment, that even though we sort of fell a little bit short in that respect, we still come away with a point, and there won't be many teams who go there this season and get that. So another good result to add to the calendar so far, and the team continues to impress.
Definitely, Brian. Up until the Tigers' visit last Thursday, the highest score any visiting team had achieved this year was 40 points. Peterborough had managed that last month, I believe. So I think that in itself suggests that Glasgow Tigers gave the home side a bit of a shock. And lots of Tigers fans in the Glasgow area who couldn't make the trip were getting rather excited by the live updates on last Thursday night.
Yeah, it was tense, and I think we pulled it back to sort of a draw at one point, kind of towards the latter stages, and I think that we were starting to believe that we could actually come away with the win there. Like I say, a little bit of bad luck. A couple of things went our way as well. I think Josh Bates for the home team had a couple of engine troubles, and perhaps played in our favour as well. So it maybe evened itself out up throughout the night. But I know that the guys came away fairly happy with the result there, and so they should be. And it was a shame that we didn't get that meeting on Saturday, because I think that the momentum that we've built up in recent weeks has been fantastic, and we're just kind of being hampered a little bit by the sort of stop-start nature of the season so far.
Presumably, if anyone had given Stuart Dixon 44 points before the meeting, he would have paid money to get that score, I think, on last Thursday night. One big bonus, of course, of the performance within the Glasgow camp was the track return of Nike Luna, 6 points from Nike last Thursday, and his contribution was vital.
Yeah, I think he got the Heat 14 win, which is no mean feat on his return. I know he also appeared in Sweden last week. He's sort of starting to ride in their top league over there, and I think he got, I think it was paid seventh from 3 rides at reserve. So an impressive return to the bike for Nike. And spoke to him when I spoke to him the other day. He was still having a little bit of trouble with the thumb. I think it's still a little bit achy after races and meetings, but no problems with racing with that, and a big boost to have him back.
So that was last Thursday. Another point gained, and the Tigers keep up this momentum of picking up championship points home and away in every meeting this season. Saturday was washed out, as we refer to, and it was a bit of a shame because within 24 hours of that meeting, of course, there was some headline news breaking on the British Speedway scene that Chris Harris had joined the Panthers as their new #1 and would have made his debut at Ashfield on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was all set to be a fantastic occasion. I think Chris Harris, we've seen what he's capable of round Ashfield already 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, and to make his debut here would have been really exciting. I think it would have made it a far better contest actually as well. It gives them an out-and-out #1, a guy who's going to score a whole bundle of points in this league, I would suggest. So it was a real shame, but I know I was at the track myself when the rain came down, and it did look fairly unsalvageable given the clouds that were hanging overhead as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was last week. Let's move on to some preview of the upcoming action over the next few days. And tomorrow night, we're filming this on Wednesday, tomorrow night, Tigers make the trek down to Redcar, a circuit which we haven't always performed wonderfully well around. I've always been there or thereabouts, but tomorrow night, given our form at the moment, and given perhaps some vulnerability in the Bears camp, given a couple of missing riders, Jonas B. Anderson and Ellis Perks, an opportunity for the Tigers to keep up that pressure at the top of the league?
I think it is, and saying that, I do still think it will be one of our toughest tests down there. The rider replacement facility might not have too much of an impact. I don't know exactly who will be able to step in there. I'd imagine that Coty Garcia would probably be one of those, along with the reserves, certainly. So it does mean the likes of Danny Ayres, who's been in particularly fine form this season, can perhaps take a couple of extra rides. And I don't know if perhaps someone like Charles Wright might get a turn as well. I'm not sure based on the averages, but I think they've certainly still got enough strength, I think, to give us a run for our money. It'll be perhaps at the top end of this team where we won and lost, those kind of heat leader battles, like Barker and Garrity against our top boys. So I think, like you say, there's perhaps an opportunity there based on the fact they've lost two riders at the same time. They're still quite a formidable team at the moment, and I don't think it'll be an easy ride.
Well, to help us preview tomorrow night's clash down at Redcar, let's bring in a face, in fact a voice, because we're not going to see him on camera tonight, but a voice well known to Glasgow fans, Coty Garcia.
Hi, how are you? Well, good evening, everyone.
Very well, thank you, Coty. You're allowing us to interrupt some of your prep for tomorrow night, so thank you very much for doing that. And if Jitendra Duffel or Kevin Kay are watching, this is not Glasgow Tactics. We'll take 10 or 15 minutes maximum of Coty's time and let them get back to business. Coty, in Speedway, sometimes you have to play a bit of a waiting game in Speedway, and that's exactly what you had to do at the start of this season. And you, of course, were the beneficiary of an injury, unfortunately, to Tobias Bush at Redcar, and has allowed you to step into the side. Tell us in your own words how your season is going as a Bear.
Yeah, well, of course, I always lucky when someone get injured, but that was unfortunately I was waiting good, and no one of the Premier League clubs or the Championship clubs now they couldn't fit me in at the beginning of the season, so I was here ready to go, and Redcar was knowing that, and they was the first club that phoned me straight after Tobias got injured in the first meeting, I think, of the season.
Coty, that must have been a relief to get a team place after waiting all those months.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was living here with Grant Henderson, Sarah, and his family, of course. So it was quite awkward situation because obviously I can't get to ride. Obviously, I was working and stuff like that. But during that month, a lot of things was happening in my head. Like I wasn't good enough, like forget a team place and stuff like that. So definitely I was totally realized when they Redcar phoned me.
The Redcar circuit, Coty, in previous seasons, it's a track you've obviously ridden that. You've done some individual meetings there and some league meetings, of course. Is it a circuit which you've tended to enjoy racing?
Yeah, I mean, I've been quite struggle the first few meetings, obviously for my injury. It's been quite hard to get back in shape and form, but I think it's slowly getting better, so that is the only thing that I want. So yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, I know that my performance will start to going better and better every single time. That is what I wanted. That is what I'm here to.
You recently extended your stay with Redcar, Coty. Did they must have been happy with the form that you've been showing recently?
Yeah, they're always happy every single time that I score over my average, but being an average rider is not good, like financially and for experience and stuff like that. You need to try to do, your best every single time. Before, like in my head, I was like quite 100% sure, but now my confidence is getting higher, and a good thing that we just start to reserve constantly. I mean, I will stay with the same average. I didn't do my average, but I expect to do a great job for them, so he will become the main body of the team.
And Coty, of course, you've joined a team which not only has some familiar faces to you, Ben Barker and Danny Ayres to name but two, but a team who are look highly capable. The Bears are riding fairly well at home and have picked up some points on their travels. A notable big win at your former track Berwick on Saturday night.
Yeah. When Darwin last was one to remember at Berwick last year, same as Summer said. But yeah, we was working quite well or decently for Glasgow, me and Daniel's reserve. So I don't see why not. We can do the same job for Redcar now.
Coty, you face Glasgow tomorrow night in what is looking like quite a tasty fixture. Will that be quite unusual going up against your former team?
Yeah, I mean, never it's like quite enjoyable just like your old teammates and stuff like that. So of course, I mean it's nice because they have an extra feeling that you want to show to them what they are missing or something like that. So all the time, kind of the extra pressure and pleasure if you have a hit win or something like that. So hopefully we'll have a few more tomorrow then.
Of course, Coty, you will keep an eye on the Glasgow's form this season. You know that the Glasgow team are riding particularly well, picking up league points in every meeting home and away so far this season. Presumably it was always going to be a tough meeting for Redcar tomorrow, but you're also operating rider replacement for Jonas B. Anderson, and Ellis Perks is injured, and he's been doing rather well for you at reserve, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this Ellis Perks will be a top thing for us. His score, particularly at home, has been like really, really good for a National League rider. Nobody was expecting that, so obviously will be something hard. Of course, at least he's traveling to the under 21 GB World Cup, something like that, with the English team. Daniel Billy wants to travel too. I think he's flying something like that. Unfortunately, Jonas can't do that, so he's missing the meeting.
And Coty, you mentioned that during the winter you missed out on a place at Glasgow. Do you have a little bit of a point to prove to the club?
Oh, definitely. I mean, they gave me a lot of things last year, and I think it would be nice for me and for everyone if I start doing even better. But definitely, I have my phone and I want to improve it.
Coty, don't be proving too big a point tomorrow night, of course, but obviously you're employed by Redcar Speedway, and we wish you well tomorrow night. Not too well, and you'll understand why I say that, of course, but we look forward to catching up with you during the course of the season. Perhaps we can have you on camera and we can catch up and review how your season is going.
Yeah, sounds great, and thanks for the call.
Ryan, that was Coty in good form, obviously in the middle of his prep for tomorrow night's meeting, but sounding confident in his own fortunes and the form of the Bears at the moment.
Yeah, it was good of Coty to join us because I know he was busy getting machinery prepared for tomorrow night because he knows he's going to have to be fast tomorrow to beat our guys. But no, it's I think he seems quite a happy chap at the moment. I think he was quite down at the start of the season when he was left out, and it was just unfortunate that we just couldn't fit him in back at Ashfield. I know he was hugely popular when he was here, so it was good to see him getting snapped up, and I think he had quite a tough start to his Redcar career. He went and scored a few blanks, and perhaps people starting to question if he was the right man. But I think recently he's started to pick up. He's getting a few wins under his belt, and doing the number 2 job for them fairly well. So I think he'll have a little bit of a point to prove, like he touched on there in the interview, yes, when it comes to tomorrow night's meeting.
Coty, he didn't beat the drum too heavily about the Bears' form this season, but you mentioned yourself they're a very capable side. He came within 10 or 11 points of Tigers at Ashfield a number of weeks ago, and of course, just off the back of a rather large win at Shielfields Park, Berwick, on Saturday night.
Yeah, and I think that was a real eye-catching win that they got at Berwick. I know Berwick haven't been in the best of form, and perhaps another defeat at home wasn't a surprise, but they've made changes to their side recently. So to be, for Redcar to go anywhere and win away is not really been something we've been accustomed to in recent years, if I'm being honest. They have tended to kind of been scrapping away in the sort of middle to lower end of the league. So that just kind of proves the team that they are this season. The guys like Jason Garrity are really stepping up to the mark. Going out and scoring big points consistently every week. And I think that was the one sort of concern that people perhaps had at the start of the season about their heat leaders was, could they find the consistency that they need, and they seem to have done so far. So, all credit to them. And yeah, I think they're, it's going to be interesting to see if they can keep that up towards the end of the season.
Yep, credit to the Bears promotion and the riders. They're certainly punching above their weight, might be one way to put it, but they were one of those teams who were going to be very much hit or miss this season, and at the moment they're very much hit, which is good for the Bears fans. So if you're making the trip to Redcar tomorrow night, folks, enjoy your trip. As ever, get behind the lads vocally, and if you're having to watch on live updates like myself, then let's hope that the Tigers can come back with some more championship points. So Brian, we mentioned Redcar's victory at Berwick on Saturday night, and Berwick are the next visitors to Ashfield this Sunday. Tapes up at 6 o'clock. A much changed Berwick side from the one that started the season.
It is. I think still remains to be seen how they'll actually line up on Sunday. I know on Saturday night in that meeting with Redcar, there was a few big crashes, the likes of David Howe and Lee Payne suffering some knocks there. So hopefully those guys have recovered in time. It's never nice to go to any away track without your full complement of riders and trying to fill in the gaps. So I think it would make it more of a contest if they've got their full 1 to 7 fit. I think we'll start the meeting as hot favourites, to be honest, probably justifiably so based on form, but at the same time, I don't think we can be complacent. There are, a couple of guys in their ranks, likes of Nick Morris and Kevin Doolan, who know Ashfield particularly well and, are capable of turning up, and, all we need is a couple of our guys to have a little bit of an off day and suddenly they're, perhaps running as closer than we would like. So I think it'd be good to see the likes of Morris back at Ashfield. Is always an exciting rider to see around there, and I'm sure there'll be some good races. Lewis Bridger, another one that's particularly exciting on the bike. So even if Glasgow do run out clear winners, I think the action will still be quite exciting and not one to be missed.
I absolutely agree with you, Brian, and I think the riders you've picked out are the ones to watch. Lewis Bridger appears to have picked up his scoring form in recent weeks, and perhaps is much closer to being the number one that the Bandits require him to be. The addition of Nick Morris, particularly coming back to Ashfield, a track he's ridden many seasons at, is an intriguing element, I think, to Sunday's meeting. And it'll be interesting to see how our top boys compete with the Bandits' top end. Kevin Doolan in particular, he's a rider who's done many laps at Ashfield over the years, and can still pose a threat even in his testimonial year.
Yeah, I mean, Doolan is a former track record holder. A few years ago he held that record, and in one of his kind of spells of sensational form, I think he was with Leicester at the time, and he's a very capable rider. Obviously used to ride for us quite a few years ago. He knows the quick way around Ashfield, and I think you're right. Nick Morris and Lewis Bridger. It is, when you look at that top three, it should be a fairly formidable heat leader trio that they've got. They've perhaps not quite hit the heights that you'd expect of them yet, but they've got to click at some point. And Nick Morris has been in excellent form in the Premiership this season for Swindon. Really proving his credentials as a heat leader, and I would imagine will be in quite hot contention for a Australian World Cup spot as well. So he is a big draw, a big attraction, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out and bag a couple of wins on Sunday.
But you're right, Brian, to mention some injury concerns within the Bandits camp. It'll be interesting to see over the course of the next few days how that manifests. I think I read Lee Payne is riding for Bellevue Colts tonight, which is a good sign that he's A-OK. David Howe took a bit of a prang on Saturday night, although I think he's declared himself to be not too badly injured. And of course, there's been a much chronicled public display of frustration from the Berwick promotion with Danny Gapmeyer for perhaps not declaring himself under full strength on Saturday night. He only claimed 1 point, and perhaps that's where Saturday's meeting was lost for them.
Yeah, you certainly need all your riders to be fit, and if they're not quite there, then it's it's in the club's interest that you let them know. But it's a shame for Gary Havelock, Scott Courtney, and co. They've put a lot of hard work in at Berwick so far, and it just hasn't worked for them yet. But I think they've still got a chance to turn that around. They just need a bit more consistency, really. And certainly the injuries on Saturday won't have helped their cause in terms of trying to take care of Redcar. So perhaps that was, the figure, the score, sorry, was slightly skewed by that. But it'll be good to see them turn up on Sunday and put in a real fighting performance for their fans.
And concerns within the home camp, the Glasgow camp, at least this side of the clash with Redcar tomorrow night, is more off-track related, Brian.
Yeah, well, we had the news come out on social media yesterday. Jack Smith, unfortunately, had I think it was his workshop broken into earlier this week, and one of his bikes was stolen along with some other equipment. And he's been sort of putting an appeal out. So we'd like to do the same. Just get the message out there. If anyone can help Jack to track down his bike, then please do so. It's obviously a fairly devastating thing to happen for a speedway rider. You put in so much hard work and a lot of money into putting your equipment together. And Jack's had a tough start to the season. It's been a bit of a baptism of fire for him in this league. So the last thing that he needs is someone to come along and take his gear. So a real blow for Jack, but I'm sure people will rally around and give him a bit of support, and hopefully he can get back on track shortly.
Absolutely, well said, Brian. Thanks for doing that. And as you mentioned, out there in social media land, there's exponential people looking out for and providing alerts to the theft of Jack's equipment. So hopefully that will turn up and be reunited with Jack. And meantime, I'm sure that the lad will focus on the job in hand tomorrow night, and of course on Sunday for the Tigers. So a reminder then, Brian, Sunday night, 6 p.m. tapes up. The weather hopefully will be much better and kinder than it was last Saturday, and hopefully Tigers can claim that another 3 league points.
Yep, and I know there's been a bit of a break in a gap in the home meetings, so hopefully the fans are desperate to get along and see some action. And I think as we've discussed, there's plenty of reasons to look forward to Sunday's meeting, and another chance for the Tigers to continue their charge towards the top of the league.
Yep, Sunday's much more about second top versus bottom. There's some good riders coming to Ashfield on Sunday. Lots of interest, as Brian says. We're all thirsty to see some speedway action once again. So enjoy the rest of your week's folk. Thanks for your company tonight. Hope you've enjoyed this week's Tiger Bite, and we look forward to your company again next week. See you on Sunday, 6 o'clock.
Goodbye.